Happy Monday.
Yay.
Here we are, the beginning of the week. And it's that time, ladies and gentlemen. Man Talk Mondays.
Yes. Boys like these days just flying by, don't it?
Oh man, for real. This year is flying by.
So who we beating up tonight?
Oh man, we're gonna get into some great conversation. For everybody, we want to welcome y'all to Man Talk Monday. It's an open forum where we talk about everything from religion to politics to relationships, but we come from a man's perspective, right? Good thing about it, it's not just about us. We want you to participate in the conversation, and you're welcome to. We encourage you to. If you got questions or comments, you can drop it into a comment section. We can see your comments, and by all means, share into the conversation with us, right? So you doing all right today, man?
Doing pretty good, man. Ready to get at it, man. Ready to go.
Ready to get at it. All right. Good deal. Well, tonight, what we want to talk about is, can women raise men?
No. So what we talking about next week?
It's done like that.
No, okay. Come back next week.
There's no shot at it, huh? Okay. All right. Now, this is definitely a pretty serious topic, considering just everything that's going on today, especially the messages that are being put out. We're in the middle of a lot of things involving men. Me Too movement. We got, women empowerment is the focus right now. So we felt it was appropriate to just talk about this particular topic. So we won't be talking about it by ourselves. We have some lovely young women who are going to join us on this conversation. And so joining us tonight, we have Miss LaTarsha Davis. How you doing, LaTarsha?
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And also we have Miss Brittany Wilson. How you doing, Miss Wilson?
Good.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And so you see the topic. Can women raise men? Can women raise men? I hear a lot of complaining about men. I hear a lot of complaining about the quality of men that are available and just the whole nine. And when I look at it, where are these men coming from? Where are they coming from? That's the question. Where are they coming from? Right? So, real quick, just kind of give a little quick background about yourself, Mr. Tarsha. Just, both women are married. How long you been married, Tarsha?
3 years for me.
3 years. 3 years. And Brittany, how long you been married?
5 years.
5 years. So we got 3 and 5. Okay. And both of you have children, and you have at least one son, right? All right. So we got some women that can kind of talk about this topic. So how do you feel? Can a woman really raise a man?
I don't think it's the point. I don't think it's the point of whether or not a woman can raise a man, because I think she can. Can she raise him adequately? I'm not really sure about that. Because one of the things that women were saying a lot last week is they want a whole man. Oh, if I could just get a whole man and he can pay some bills, because I want that to work. Well, women in which they are raising a man have some issues. Therefore, passing that on to the men, and this is what you're getting, and now you're complaining about it.
So, Mr. John said the women pass their issues on to these men.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of agree with him. I think it just depends on the way the mother raised them, because some women raise their son like their man. They're like, that's my king. And then they think it's like, she would think.
That's interesting. Okay. How you feel about it, Tar?
I think I agree with that, and that was one of the things I was going to say. Is most of the time we allow that man to be. We say, oh, this is my little baby, and he's the man of the house, and we give them that title, and then that causes a lot of problems when you begin to date and when you send them out because they already feel like they're inferior and they know, hey, this is my thing.
What happened? Why can't you date? What happens when you're trying to date? I don't know.
Oh, because if you've given that child that authority to be the man of your home and you bring someone else in, there's no respect there. I mean, they already feel like it's their house. Now, that's not all women. That's how some women parent.
Yeah.
And so my view on tonight is it's kind of 50-50. I think, yes, women can raise men. I'm glad that you started with adequately because I think that's really key because there are some strong women that have raised and that can raise men, but there definitely needs to be some assistance from a man or a man mentor.
Where does the standard come from? Because how do we know this is an adequately raised man? This is a good man. Who controls the standard as to say that this is a good man versus nah, he ain't no good? Who controls that standard?
I think that's on the individual.
Think it's on the individual?
My standard of adequacy is maybe different for another woman.
Okay, so now that's a good point because I'm wondering, do women raise men based on the standard that they have in their mind as to what a man should be? And also, does that differ from what a man actually needs to be?
That's very good. And I think, yes, absolutely. Some women do raise their young men to be what they're expecting or what they like to see in somebody. And that's really that's huge too. Because you guys talked about it last week on your show. We don't always know what we want. So we may not be raising them to fit what society is or where they should be. So absolutely, I do think that we do that and it's not the right parenting.
Okay, Selena says a woman can do anything she wants to do. Would the child be more well-rounded or be multifaceted with a man in the house / picture? Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, but we're not saying. I mean, of course, myself and Derek came from single family households, and we perfect. So,
so who defined that? Who said that? Who? Your perspective?
Can we get y'all wives to chime in?
So let's take it from that perspective. Like John said, both of us were raised by single mothers. We were raised by single mothers. And when I look at my wife and I look at our relationship, especially when we first met, I was on the struggle bus bad. I mean, I was driving the struggle bus, looking for somebody to come relieve me, and they wouldn't. So, but it wasn't until I got out on my own that I realized that I had a lot of deficiencies. Now, my mother was a great mother, and she raised me the best she knew how. She taught me how to be a good person. She taught me how to be respectable. But there were certain things that when it comes to life and just being a man, she couldn't give me. And that's why I just want to see how you guys feel about what Natasha, you raised 2 young men, right? What you've given them in raising them, what would you say really shaped your perspective of what you felt like was important to teach them?
For me, it was what I saw. I mean, I came from a single parent home as well. And I was a young mother. I mean, I was 16 when I had my first child. And I don't know, my mentality was just a little bit different. I came from a very small town, and then I watched and saw my mother struggle, and she did the best that she could. But I didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to be like that. And then when I had my child, my mindset changed completely. I saw young Black boys walking around in our town, and I saw that they weren't going anywhere. we lived in a very rural area where there was a correction facility there. And so everyone that graduated high school worked at the correctional facility. Well, I knew I was leaving that town, and I definitely knew that I didn't want my boys to be there. And so, or my oldest at the time. So I saw how other people what they were doing, young Black men were doing there. And I vowed to create something different for them. But that's what I want to do. It's when you're raising these men, it's your mindset, and it's also them. You talked about you saw deficiencies, whether it was when you left the house or whenever it was. So it's really a two-party streak. It's the parent and the child that has to work together to want to do better.
All right. Jatoya says, yes, they become very emotional men and give off, female characteristics, i.e. argumentative. Wow. She says, when being raised only by a woman. So she says when a young man is raised only by a woman, they take on female characteristics. I don't know. How do y'all agree?
Like, I agree in the sense that I guess you see around kids, like you can tell when certain little boys have been around a lot of women. It's just like a cattiness almost. It's like, I understand exactly what Jatoya is saying with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with that comment as well. I've seen it.
Well, so I'm curious about this. So you guys, both of you guys, if I'm not mistaken, so everybody on the call came up in single family homes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you guys were single with single boys, that's not what I want to. So I want to ask Brittany. Brittany, how would you raise your boys different if you were single? How would you raise them if you were single?
Well, I guess like growing up, I have two sisters and I have a brother. My mom was kind of tougher on us girls than on my brother. And so I feel like she kind of babied him more. And so even like, I guess with my son now, I try to be firm with him, but I also want to make sure he's around like a lot of strong Black men, and just in the things he does. Like when I look at schools for him, when I look at places for him, I just want him to be a place where he's like being affirmed and he feels strong and proud in his Blackness, so he can maybe, I don't know.
Now that's a great point, because when I tell you my sisters used to complain about how my mama treated me versus how she treated them, and they felt like she was harder. I was the baby, but I wasn't as much trouble. I had seen the whoopings and I didn't want no part of all of that. So I kind of walked the line a little bit more than they did. But you bring up a good point. Do women baby the young boy, versus challenging the young woman? What's the difference in raising the young woman versus raising the man that women would make such a difference in how they could approach it?
If I can say something, my mom beat all of us the same.
Now your mom raised all boys, right?
All boys. The only difference is by the time my youngest one came, she was tired, but she had beat me and my other brother, so she just would just lay across the bed and just cry because her spirit wanted to be whooping him, but she didn't have to agree.
Wow.
Well, my brother was the oldest, so that's not the case.
Oh, so he was the oldest. Okay. So
I'd love to hear the counselor's perspective. What I was going to say, so there were three of us. I have an older brother, then it's myself, and then I have a younger sister. And my mother parented us very just different, and it's probably based on who we were, because my oldest, my brother, yes, he got whippings a lot, but he also didn't. The expectations, I think, on him were different than it was on me, and it's probably because my drive. Like my mom stopped going to the beauty salon because I want to see how it is to roll your hair, so I did that, and so then she stopped going. And my sister, the baby, I think at that point she must have gotten tired as well, John, because she definitely didn't know what a whipping was. So I feel like, and the counselor can kind of talk her piece, but I feel like parents parent them differently. I did with my two boys.
Well, I guess I can agree with that too. Parenting based on who the child is as opposed to a blanket.
Now, when I talk to a lot of guys today, especially guys that came up in single parent homes, if there was a young lady versus a young man situation, the young man was taught how to keep a house, how to cook. So you got a lot of men that know how to cook and take care of the house better than a woman can. And it seems like the girls were being taught how to be strong and be independent and not depend on a man.
And see, that's kind of an oxymoron. And I guess the reason being is because men and women kind of need each other. But I guess in the back of our parents' mind, just in case you are single like me, this is what you'll need. And I get that. But I just think that's probably the wrong message we need to be sending. I think moms should be telling their daughters, you need to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet when they're young.
Well, now she shouldn't do that.
No, this is a friend of mine. I was talking to a friend of mine. A friend of mine had told me this.
Well,
was
I didn't think your friend was invited tonight. He showed out last week. Brittany, we don't want to meet his friend. He says whatever he wants to say. No, Derek, that's a really good point, though, because I never really looked at it like that, because we are taught to be that opposite. And that is why we butt heads so much, because I taught my boys to, let's go in the kitchen. That was really, for me, oh my gosh, my struggle was we didn't have a lot of money along to, when they were home. And so our bonding time was, let's learn how to cook together, and let's go to the library where it's free and read books, and let's go outside and I learned how to throw the football because of them. Let's go outside and have a picnic. It's going to be so much fun. But it was because I was broke. I didn't have any money, so that's how I parented. But I did teach them to do laundry. At 10 years old, my boys were doing laundry. Let's go do this before you go do anything else. And I guess, and essentially my mind was, well, part of it was, if something happens to me, I need your help. But also, when I'm not around, you'll know how to do these things.
Wow. So the survival piece, but I guess when we look at it, though, the survival piece from what you teach the young boy versus what you teach the young lady, I mean, what's the motivation behind, teaching the young man the house and teaching the young woman the independence, go out and get it, and the whole nine?
Because I'm curious, Brittany. Brittany, so you single mom, correct, Brittany?
No, I'm not. Did I grow up with a single mom?
You raised by a single mom.
Okay. So did she prepare you for a husband, or did you fight him, or did y'all have a struggle? Did he have to Wayne Brady you? What happened?
I think my mama prepared me to be like independent. Like I cut grass when I was younger. Like I did like a lot of things because she just taught me how to just take care of yourself, be Miss Independent. So transitioning to like being married and a wife is like, okay, be soft, let him handle it. Like you don't have to do everything, like calm down. But it's just when you're used to seeing a woman or your mom do everything, you think you should do everything too. Yeah. And so it's like I'm learning more so to fall back and let him handle things. So
you guys been married 5 years, correct? Yeah. So how many of the 5 years were you guys kind of, or was, I mean, because that's an issue. That would be an issue because you used to kind of doing everything, and if he's used to doing everything, because I know. Let me tell you a story. So when we first got married to my wife, many years ago.
No, tell them how long, man. Tell them how long. That's a good thing. Tell them how long. Never mind. I want to get you no headlock later on, so go ahead.
You say the wrong number.
Hey, once my eyes go up to the left, it's like, okay, now leave it alone. Go ahead.
We were married. Me and my wife been married 30 years in April. So, yeah. So, when we first got married, it was kind of difficult for me because in my mind, because I was raised by a single mom, I had to kind of figure out for myself what a marriage and all the moving parts and who was supposed to do what. So if I'm outside looking at the car and then you come out there and you looking at the car too, I'm looking at you like, Nah, I think you're supposed to be in the house either washing dishes, cooking cakes, or dinner. You said something else you're supposed to be doing rather than out here with me doing man stuff because I didn't know. So I was trying to learn the roles of married people while you in it because we weren't really taught. You know, it was all about, man. We was poor too. We wasn't broke. We was poor. You know what I mean? We was PO. So we spent most of my marriage. The first 5 years. I was trying to figure out what the roles were. Yeah, and that was how. So we fussed and fought the first 5 years. Our marriage was trying to figure out who's supposed to be doing what. Because she thought she knew, because she came up just like I did. She thought she knew, and I thought I knew, which made it kind of difficult for us.
We can't hear you, Derek.
Can't hear you, Derek.
To both of the ladies, how is it going from that single parent raised me to be independent to now you in a marriage where you have to kind of share responsibilities and the whole nine with somebody else? How is it?
I think it's a big difference, I guess I would say, because me and my husband had a little practice because we shacked a little bit before we got married. So
okay.
we worked it out in the beginning, and so then it got smoother.
Had a trial run, huh?
Yeah. We messed up on a rough draft, and then you know.
The masterpiece is the final, so that's all right. Yeah, I've been single for a very long time, and so I think part of what helped me is that I was watching people that were married, because my mom wasn't married and never wants to be. So I was trying to figure out how to be that wife, and we don't butt heads, but we definitely have had some intense conversations, and as it relates to probably me, because I'm so independently mind driven, and I have to allow him to do things for me. Just, I remember the first time we were dating, and I took out my trash, and he just looked at me like, "Why are you doing that? I'm sitting right here." But I didn't want to ask him to do anything for me. So now I think it's better, but it's really for me. But I had a lot of help looking at people that were married and listening and taking advice from those couples that really helped me in my mindset on making sure I knew I needed to do what I needed to do.
So both of you guys coming from single parent homes, and now you've been taught to be independent, and now you have to share the responsibility with somebody else. What kind of man makes that easy?
Yeah.
Or is it? Maybe I'm just assuming it could be easy. What kind of man makes that an easier process?
Well, someone for me, I guess my husband is so gentle. I mean, and he understands where I came from. That made it easy for me, because when I know I'm wrong, he doesn't call it out, but we do have conversations about it. And it's not always him saying, you were wrong when you did this. I figure it out, and I have to go back. And I mean, I've had some putty in my face a lot, because I have to allow him to be who he is supposed to be to me. And I'm still learning. It's going to be a constant process for us, but I needed to have someone that understood me in order to make it work.
Okay. What about you, Britt?
I guess I'd say my husband is from a single parent home too. So, and neither one of us had kind of that marriage model to look at. So we kind of like are able to try to figure out what it looks like for us on our own, like without having these preconceived notions of like marriage should look like this, or you should be like this, or you should be like that. We just thugging it out.
And sometimes that's a good thing too. I mean, you get to write your own story, because not every marriage is perfect. So we don't want to look at someone and get advice from someone who may not have a good marriage. Yes, sir.
No marriage is perfect. I don't care how they look.
Right.
No marriage is perfect. Okay. I said not all. Thank you for your correction. 30 years.
Yeah. Mine is close because of me. It's all because of me.
You're taking advice from your friend. So I'm curious. Let me ask you this. So I'm curious. So can y'all look at a man and tell whether a man was raised by a woman or whether he came up in a two-parent household?
Can you look at a man and tell? If so, how?
I'm not that good.
Okay.
I can't tell. Yeah.
But maybe after you talk to him for a while, you can say, "Oh yeah."
And I guess I'm basing that off of some people that I know, like Derek, you just mentioned. I wouldn't be able to look at you and tell, but there are some people that you would be able to look at. So I'll just say that it just depends. And maybe it's when they open their mouth and it's the conversation and how it comes out.
Lena said, as a teacher, we can always tell. Okay, so she can tell when there's a man present and when there is not. So, how do y'all feel about mama's boys? How do women feel about mama's boys?
Well, I don't think any woman. Well, I wouldn't want one. But I've raised 2 boys, and someone has said to me before that, that's the mama's boy. Yeah, I raised them. That's my baby. They're always going to be my baby. But however, I wouldn't want a mama's boy, not in my house.
But wait a minute. Wait, stop. How you going to tell us, everybody that y'all heard, I raised mama's boys, but I don't want to deal with that.
Hey, he asked me how I felt about it. I'm telling you, I wouldn't want one in my home. However, I know that I handheld both of my boys to a certain degree, so they could potentially be called a mama's boy. They're going to always be their mama's boy, but I don't want one in my house. And I can tell you that I'm not afraid to admit when I was wrong with them. So I know I overcompensated for them. I know I did a lot of things wrong when they, in raising them. And hopefully by the time they get a wife, they aren't perceived as a mama's boy, because I wouldn't want one. So I wouldn't want them to take that into a marriage.
So basically what you said, but while you're in it, as a mom with boys, all you're trying to do basically is be the best mom you can be without the father being there, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So let me ask Brittany. So your husband is there, you're raising your kids together, and you have a little boy. What's the difference, the biggest difference you see in how you deal with your son versus how your husband deals with it?
Well, I guess I get to be a little bit more gentle on certain things, because then my husband comes in as the firmness. So we kind of balance each other out. But my husband is kind of a mama's boy. I mean, his mom is one of his best friends. He loves his mama. I think it's more of an issue when the moms can't step back. And I think that relates back to, like, when I say some of those moms, like, their son is their king, or that's their man. And so then it becomes a little stressful, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. Have either one of y'all ever been that mom that couldn't step back?
Well, my son is 3, so I can step back.
Right. You hadn't been there yet.
He's a toddler.
Okay. So I asked Tarsha, you raised 2 young men. Have you had conflict with their girlfriends or whatever? Just being, I guess being able to let go and let them. I don't know how to put it, but have you had any issues, conflict with?
I don't like how John is off on the camera like that.
He waiting on the else, I think.
Well, yes, there has been a time where I have overstepped my boundaries. But I realized when I did, and I knew that I had to have a conversation with his girlfriend, and we had to talk about it. And I said, hey, you love him, I love him, and this is the thing. And it was just, you don't want anyone to tarnish anybody's name. And if you know that your child's name or your friend, whomever you are close to, their name is being tarnished, you may want to say something. And so, I didn't like one of my son's girlfriends for a long time, but I had to have a conversation and realize that was going to be, I didn't want to risk losing my son. So I had to step back because I knew I needed to keep him in my life. And so that afforded me an opportunity to step back and realize that he is grown. And at the end of the day, he can't come here and live with me. So I got to step back.
So that girlfriend got some influence on. Okay. So, Cheryl says, even though you come from a single parent home, you still need the other parent's role. It's a vital role. So what is the role of that man?
You asking me? Because I know what it is.
I'm putting it out there. What is the role? What is the role of that man?
See, but the problem is the women don't know the role. So everybody get your pads and pencils out. I'm gonna tell y'all. All right. No, seriously. No, seriously. I think that's why it's kind of crazy, because a man, we don't do much. Okay, we add security, we add protection, we add covering, and we come in and basically we're the glue that keeps the whole thing together. Now, I know in most cases it's the woman that does that, but the man, I step back and my wife does almost everything. Almost, but it's some things, but that's the whole nother story. But again, we're just the glue that kind of keeps the whole thing together. We're the hand when she need a hand. We're the protection when needs protection. We're whatever that the house needs.
Mm-hmm. And I know, speaking from personal experience, with just having my mom there, whatever emotion she was going through, we felt it. There was no buffer at all. If she was panicking, we experienced the panic. There was no counter to say, everything gonna be all right, don't worry. You know what I'm saying? There was none of that. And as a kid, you absorb that. Now, the thing is, as a young boy, because you don't grow into that sense of protector, you're born with it. Young boys want to protect. It just naturally do. So you see your mom hurting or crying or something like that, and everything in you as a boy wants to protect her. But as a boy, you can't. And so it can cause some issues growing up because you feel inadequate. You feel like I can't cut it because you couldn't help her in that state when you were younger. And so you kind of grow into this sense of, I don't know if I can get it done type situation. That was my experience. What about you, John?
Well, I just remember just some of the stuff we went through as kids, and it kind of, as much as as difficult as it was going to different people's houses, it was really tough at times. And I remember that, and I always said I would never put anybody through what my single mom was going through. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of shaped some of my values and things that I did. And one of the most memorable things is I remember going over. We just kind of stayed with my mom's friends until they got tired of us staying there, and then we would go to her other friends. So So my thing was, I wasn't gonna, when I had kids, I was gonna be married to them. We weren't gonna be because I didn't want anybody to be going through what we went through as kids. So, and I don't know if that made, as far as valuing marriage and what it takes to be a good husband, what it takes to be a good wife, finances. I ain't know none of that when I got married.
Right.
That's the part I had to figure out on my own. We was bouncing checks everywhere. I was like, we got checks. Didn't know no finances, didn't know none of that stuff. But I just knew when I get married, I'm gonna stay married as long as I can. That's the only thing I got. We didn't get to talk anything else.
So I asked the ladies, what's the biggest challenge in raising young men?
I think I'll say that the biggest challenge really would be almost allowing them to be themselves, because we talked about it earlier, how we will instill in them what we think we want. So really allowing them to be themselves is kind of challenging, because they have their own personality. They're going to grow into, someone. We want to definitely mold them, but we have to also allow them some flexibility to be themselves.
I think I agree with that too. And just, I guess I want my son to feel like he can be sensitive if he needs to be. Like, I feel like sometimes boys are maybe you just overly toughen them up, and it's like, if you want to cry, it's okay to cry, but then we will talk about it. I just want him to feel comfortable with expressing himself, because I feel like that's not taught to boys enough.
How do you feel when men cry?
I mean, I'm okay with it.
You okay with it?
Yeah.
How much is too much though?
I mean, or something, but
now you gonna have everybody coming to my girl. Let me tell you. Well, and that you are right. Men don't. We're not taught to show that type of emotion when we're young, because we're trying to be most of the time we're trying to be the man in the house. They no room for crying, So yeah, I would have to agree with that. But I know for me, raising boys I got teenage boys, and them trying to figure out who they are within the boundaries that you set for them is difficult, because this the boundary here and they out here. I'm like, no, you got to figure that out in here. No, but they are like this, like, okay, somebody gonna get choked. So that's the most difficult thing for me, trying to where his, because if you're trying to make men, and all men want, and I'm curious with women, with Tasha especially, I'm sure your boys want to be men. They want to, or we're trying to figure out how to be a man. How did you help with that, or did you kind of move out the way, or how did you handle that? Because that's tough for me, because I be wanting to, but I'm just trying to figure out how you deal with that.
Yeah, it was before I met my husband. Now I push them on him, hey, use him as a resource, and they have. But before him, it was, I tried to keep them involved in things where there were positive male role models for them to talk to and look up to and ask, whether it be in AAU basketball, when my oldest was younger, or in church. They were always in church on the front row, active, and we're driving home and I'm saying what they talk about, let's talk about it. So I tried to keep them around men that in events, where I knew they were positive role models. I remember a couple of times where my youngest was living with me and I didn't know how to tie a tie and I couldn't teach him. Yes, the internet has everything, but we were driving to church, and when we get to church, we saw the first man, can you tie this? And that's what we did. My youngest didn't learn how to shave properly until I got married, when he came home from college and my husband was in the bathroom mirror with him, showing him how to shave.
Wow.
And I didn't learn how to shave until I went to the military, and he put a razor in my hand and said, go in there and shave.
Well, you have to do what they say in the military.
everywhere.
They had medevac on standby, huh?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Brittany, what is the biggest compliment that you would give your husband as to just being that father figure in the home?
I think like when we started dating, we were like 19, so we always talked about these kind of things. And I guess my compliment is like all the things that he said he missed about not having his dad around, he is dead in our home. Like I feel like our kids will never have those thoughts or those feelings like that he expressed or that I expressed, because he feels all those roles, whether it's homework or cheering them on at practice, or if my daughter want to play dolls, he'll go in there and sit there and play with her. I mean, he's present. So that's, I guess, the biggest compliment I could give.
Wow. And that's huge, because so many of us, we all come from single parent homes. That's missed. Mm-hmm. And I think because the message that's put out today, Brittany, you're raising a young man in this environment. Tarsh, you have two young men who are living this now. The message that's being put out is we're not needed. Mm-hmm. When we look at, and no knock to the Me Too movement. It's necessary because there's so much wrong that's been done to women. But some people take it too far and just go where, you don't need no man, girl, for nothing, all this. And it's like, so a young man coming up, where does that leave him? Especially if he wants to have a relationship with a young lady, where does that leave him? So how are you raising, helping your kids, especially as women, how do you guide them through this whole new era of women independence?
Oh, that's true, because that's right, because Brittany has a 3-year-old, so your son is going to be coming up.
Yeah.
And by the time he get old enough to date, well, they ain't going to need men for, first of all, you ain't going to know them women from the men anyway, because they're going to be, Wait, stop. Wait. You know, let me stop. Baby, will you tell us how you're gonna navigate through this?
I don't know. Hopefully he just sees from right here. I need his daddy here. I mean, we function as a unit. I mean, I commend every woman that's doing it by themselves, but I think it's hard. I saw with my mama, it's hard. Like, you need to have that balance. You need to have somebody else there. I mean, I guess if you had somebody outside coming in, like maybe a family member, somebody who could be that male figure, but the kids need both.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the house or in the neighborhood somewhere, they need another person there.
Selena said that is powerful when a man can fill a void that he experienced with his seed.
It is.
That is powerful. And I think for most guys, especially guys who were raised by a single mother, we have a desire to make sure that any woman that we are with doesn't experience that, the pain and the letdowns and everything that our mother saw.
So I'm curious. So if we, I didn't think about this, but there are some single women out there now that are raising kids, men that are raising young men and raising young women that are single. What could we do to help them navigate through the difficult times that we had? Now, let me just say this before I go no further. Tasha is a dear friend of mine, but I have experienced her wrath of her trying to get someone to do something with her boys, and it was like we forgot him, but we really didn't forget him. We just missed him and looked over him. And Tasha wanted to let the church, the deacons, the elders,
anybody that was listening,
know that she wasn't going forward, and it better not happen no more. So we had to issue a public apologies from the mayor's office, the bishop's office, and everybody, because she wasn't gonna let it happen no more. So yeah, I'm curious. So what advice could we give somebody, women that are going, because it's tough. I mean, it is tough. It's tough, man. So I'm gonna give you time to think about it. So I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna go first. Support system. If you're by yourself, it's important to have a great support system and surround you and get in a community where there's men in that community that'll help you, that'll help check on that child and do things with that child. It's important because most of the times men become who they are around a lot. Not to say that women can't do it, but women can. It's obvious that they can, but men can spot check you some things, like we're saying. It's all about community. It's all about your community, people you surround yourself around. Mm-hmm. I like the La Cosa thing, man. I like that. More me.
No, you're right. Because I think about, man, where would I be without the men that God placed in my life? Like from coaches, especially coaches. Shout out to any coaches, because coaches don't just teach kids the game. A lot of great coaches, they deal with the kids on a personal level to where, they see about them. And I know some men today who can look back at coaches and see, a coach just checked in on him. He saw about him. He actually listened to him and saw what they were going through and actually stepped in a certain way. So shout out to coaches. Shout out to uncles. Uncles as well. Sure, like Carol said, it takes a village.
Yes, it does.
It absolutely takes a village. But have we lost the village? Is the village even there anymore?
I think people are scared of the village. They want the village when it's convenient. The rest of the time, they want to be on an island.
They don't want their business.
They want the village to the village say, Ray Ray running wild. And it's like,
right. They wait till Ray Ray, and he didn't turn all the way up. And now you want the village. But you should have got him. He was on the you saw the first sign. You should have been calling somebody about Ray Ray. But when you wait till he turned all the way up and Ray Ray gone by that time.
Yeah, it's too late. I think you said that people are afraid of the village, but I also think that sometimes the village is afraid of helping others. This is what we don't do well in the church. We have all of these programs to baccalaureate services where we, you know what, you're graduating, you're going out to the world. But what we don't do is when they get to college, we don't send a card and check on them. We don't send an email or call or text or encourage them to come back to church on Sunday. So we don't go out as well and help those individuals. And so I think as they're continuing to grow, the community also needs to be to make themselves available. And sometimes these kids, and we're talking about boys, but the boys may not necessarily call back and say, hey, what's going on? So if they don't, and they run across your mind, it is helpful for us to reach back out to them as well. And if they don't respond, then you've done all that you can do. But I think in some cases, we have to make sure that we reach out a little bit as well to help those. I know that I did that for a young girl that went off to college. Every once in a while, I would make sure that I reached out to her, and I would send a cash app and say, go get coffee on me today when you study. And I don't think that we do that enough, reaching out to them.
I think you're right. I think society, period, we live in a very selfish society. Just, we're taught to be selfish.
That's true.
And I don't know if we stress enough the importance of even accountability to one another, or how my actions affect the next person, so forth and so on. So I ask this question. Raising young men, what would the young women that they are dealing with, what would they say about them? Would they agree that you've raised a good young man or not?
No. Okay. So my wife would say, I'm a mama's boy. My mama don't like nobody. Don't think nobody good enough for me. Have gave her HE double hockey sticks the whole time we get married. This is what my wife would say about me. But now, my mom think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. But she didn't make. I am so serious. But she didn't make it easy for a woman to deal with me and my brothers. It is very difficult because my mom was really, really tough on us, but she was overprotective at the same time. So it's really, oh my God, you won't make me cry because I was there.
Well, I can talk about him, but you better not say it.
And so
you will give it a side eye.
And it's funny because you don't really think about that kind of stuff until somebody says, well, what would they say about you? Because your mom raised you. How do people look at you? And you're like, wow. Because most of the time we think we got it all together, but that's not necessarily the case. I know that's how it was with Russ. It was tough. It was tough. Yeah, it was tough.
So I asked Brittany, what's your biggest hope for your son as far as who he grows up to be? What's your biggest hope, kind of person you want him to be?
I just want him to be himself. Whatever, I want him to be confident in himself and his abilities. I want him to be able to communicate, be emotionally stable. Hopefully we raise him well-rounded. If he can learn how to cook, he'll trump his daddy.
I got you. You gonna teach him?
I might teach him to do a 4-pack. Shout out to Selena.
Good old 4-pack, boy. Okay, so because you have a daughter too.
Yes.
Your daughter has a chance of running up, meeting a young man who's probably been raised by a single mother. What advice would you give her on how to deal with a young man who come from a single parent home?
Dang, now you didn't stump me. I'm not sure. Run, girl. No,
You said run.
Run. Because we've made mistakes. I mean, that is a hard question because I'm thinking now, what would I tell my daughter if I had one? Because we made mistakes, in raising. Because like I said earlier, I know I overcompensated for mine because I didn't want them to feel any kind of way because they didn't have a dad in the house. So I did a little bit more for them. And then when I realized it, I had to pull back. I had created the monster. And so it took some massaging to be able to get to get them out of that mindset, both of them. One in particular, but both of them.
So real quick, let me know how because I've seen mothers celebrate both Mother's Day and Father's Day. I've seen the T-shirts that Mama was Mama and Daddy. Is that even possible? Is it feasible to even say that
if
a
I
woman
call my mama on Father's Day, she's gonna be mad.
really?
I have to tell her like, you had your day.
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
She's one of those. She wants to be acknowledged on both. And
Wow.
I mean, I understand her, but we got to recognize the fathers. Like, you had your day. Just calm down.
Wow. Well, I don't tell my mother Happy Father's Day. I don't. Yeah, and I don't tell anybody that. But there is a single dad that on Mother's Day I say Happy, Single Dad's Day or whatever, because he's doing a great job of raising his daughter. No, I think my view is we need both a man and a woman to raise a young man. There are definitely some things that I did not teach him and cannot teach him.
But do they need 2 holidays?
No. That's my perception. I don't think they need you don't have to text me and tell me Happy Father's Day on Father's Day, because I'm not the father.
Because it's getting tough. As speaking as a man, it's getting tough, and I can only imagine what younger guys are going through right now, because it's like you got to be careful everything you say, everything you do. It's like you walking on a landmine, and one little wrong move, one little wrong thing you say can be blown completely out of proportion. You got stuff like mansplaining, manspreading. I mean, just the whole nine. And it's like there's this negative thing around being a man today, to where why would even a young boy even want to take it on?
I'm curious, because both of you guys sound like that y'all have said that we really need men, we need marriages. But what are the women that are championing these movements? When it's going on? Because there are a lot of married women that know, girl, I need my husband. I don't care what they talking about. Because real talk, because I know a lot of women that are in. First of all, don't nobody want to be raising no kids by themselves anyway, because it takes two people made them, 2 people to be raising them. But why? I don't think I'm curious. Why don't more women like yourselves be champion? Girl, they tripping. Girl, they is tripping. I just because we all ever heard it.
Yeah,
I think it's a defense mechanism. In the sense of just like, instead of saying that I need somebody, I want you to feel I don't need anybody. I can handle this. I can do everything on my own. It's just, are you saying that for your own benefit, or because that's how you actually feel, or for other people? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
because I mean, we watch movies. That's the message that's being put out. TV, songs. I mean, just the whole nine. And men have just been reduced to, you can make a baby. That's it. That's all I need you for. Once I get the baby, I'm done. I don't even need you no more. And it's like, it's not a need for you. It's a need for the child, because we all come from single parent homes. So how did you feel not having that man there? How did you feel coming up in that environment?
It wasn't void. I mean, it wasn't a good feeling at all. I think it's definitely needed. And I'll just go back to I think a question that you asked earlier. I want to say that I don't think it's all women that champion that. I think that there is, I think you said it's the defense mechanism, and we're such women. We just do stuff. But I think that we act out, some of us, because there is a different level of expectation on women raising men by themselves, hence this topic tonight. Mm-hmm. And that same expectation is not put on a single man raising. We hear it all the time. Can a woman do this? Can a woman do this? And it's because of the Me Too and all that has come up. But the expectation on women, it's emotionally draining on some of us, because I think there is a higher expectation on single women raising men.
So you think some women, there's a group of women who are just, they kind of tired of this whole I can do all things, I'm a woman type thing, and they were like, man, y'all can have that, bring me somebody, you know what I'm saying?
I am sure that there are some ladies out there that feel that way. Yes, I am extremely excited that they are advocating for women, but I'm just going to sit back because I don't want to say much because I need a man, but yay, thanks. Continue rallying for me and I'll take whatever benefits come with that.
Now, speaking about like Me Too, just equality as far as especially like equal pay and the whole thing. My thing is, if you're doing the same job, same function, you pay based on the function, not based on the gender. But women have gotten the raw deal a lot of times. In the Black community, mothers are still kind of revered in the Black community to me, because when that young man get that contract, he go by his mama house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he do something great, it's his mama. You got Kevin Durant, mama, you the real MVP. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's the same across other cultures, but it seemed like to me in the Black culture, women are revered, especially mothers. Mothers are revered. Because you want to start a fight, say something about the mama. You don't say nothing about the daddy. They let that slide. But you say something about my mama, we gotta go.
Well, the reason why, if you say something about daddy, we don't know whether it's true or not. Have you seen him? Because I don't.
I want to be upset, but I don't know. Yeah, okay.
You can't get mad about that.
I think you're right, John. They've seen the mother struggle because that's where they are. Some of them, not all, but I think that's probably why. But why they get that? Why is shout out to my mama, or I'm taking my mama here, and I think that's why. Because some of the guys they disappear until the contract is signed, and then they want to show up, and it's too late at that point. Because at that point, I'm side eyeing.
Mama is the day one.
Yeah. Regardless whether we're tired, we rush home from work. We get up in the morning and we do everything to get them to school. We rush home we work 8 hours a day. We come home, we cook dinner. Now these are singles. There are some men that do this. I'm just saying why. We rush home, we do this. When they're babies and they're crying at night, there's nobody there to wake them up. We have to pick them up. You asked the question. I'm just saying this is why mom is day one, because we've had to do all those things. I've had to sit outside of barbershops when my kids were young to get haircuts.
Because they won't let you go in.
Because I didn't want to go in because it was full of men. And in the car, I was so glad when they were able to drive so they can go up to themselves. But that's why mothers are the day one. Because of that, they've been around, they've seen everything, they've wiped, ooies and stuff like that, boo boos and stuff. So.
Well, and I agree. Women are remarkable, and they are all of that. But if we want, I just think it's crazy that now women complain more so about men than they ever have. And whether the man is in the house or not, we have, the women play a really big role in what's being reproduced out there. And so I guess if parents would think more about, hey, this is going to be somebody's husband one day. So like we said earlier, start thinking about what we're putting out, because women are complaining big time now about the men that are out there. So it makes us wonder, what could we have done differently?
But it could just be more so, instead of the men that's out there, the men that they choose.
Now, see, you're going to say that at the end of the show. We could have went a whole hour talking about that.
Right.
Because that's the problem right there. That's the problem right there, who they choosing. Yeah.
You're right. That's a whole other show because why do women choose? Because there's something in you that's driving you to cause you to choose that guy. Where is that coming from? So I think that's a great point. Man, it's been an hour.
Wow.
I tell you, it goes pretty fast, all right?
Yeah,
it does.
Pretty fast. Well, I want to thank Brittany, I want to thank you, Latarsha, for coming on, being with us, and talking about this topic. And so, just real quick, a couple of seconds, just give somebody any final thoughts that you want to give them before you go. Tarsha, we'll go with you first.
Yep. I would think that we talked about not letting your child be the man of the house, and point out the positives that they're doing, and just don't be negative toward men. It's not all men's fault because that you're in that situation. So remain positive and don't bring negativity about men in the house.
Absolutely. Okay, Brittany.
I guess I agree with not bringing negativity against me in the house, because you don't want to demasculate your son, but also find positive males to have your son around, people that he can aspire to be like, people that if you had to choose someone you would want, and then let him be around those men as opposed to being around.
Right. She said demasculate. I don't know what that means, but I'm scared of it.
It's pretty bad. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I just want to say, oftentimes when we get grown up, when we're adults, we think back about some of the things we could have did differently. But while we're in parenting mode, we have to be more cognizant of what we're doing and how we're raising those kids in the moment, because you can't go back and undo it. So everybody we can reach out to, there are no books on how to be a perfect parent, but there are things we can read. There are people that we can talk to, and just let's start being better examples of what parents or what people are supposed to be when they leave us. And if we do that, that's one of the things we can be better about, whether it's single or whether it's together.
Yeah.
I guess I would just say let's learn how to work together. It's obvious that both are needed. Man, woman, mother, father are needed, and we need to figure out a way to work together. I know there's a lot that's been done wrong, but how do we get past that so that we can grow and get better and just make better another generation that's better than what we were? Mm-hmm. So, well, we appreciate you guys, everybody that's watching, everybody that watched later. We appreciate you guys for watching. We're here every Monday, 7 o'clock. We'll see you guys next week. I'll let y'all.